I have one more question. You have mentioned in books and CDs that our thoughts about God are so complicated or misunderstood that it would take you forever to straighten us out on that. Can you tell us something about what the original source of God?
It isn't just that it would take that long to straighten it out, because nothing needs to be straightened out. It's that you are really varied in what you see about it, and the words are so cumbersome when the emotion tells it all. In other words, when you feel hate, that's all you need to know about God. You're doing something that which you call God isn't doing, because God loves, and when you hate, you're doing the opposite. When you feel insecure, you're off. When you feel angry, you're off. When you're disappointed in yourself or somebody else, you're off. In other words, God is telling you in every moment in this vibrational relationship, emotionally, energy thing that you're feeling, God's letting you know moment by moment, thought by thought, experience by experience, where that which you call God stands. But you can feel your relationship to it. Do you get that? In other words, I'm so mad at you that I could spit nails. What's that tell you about God? God's not spitting any nails. God doesn't feel like that. So what does that tell you? God's on the other side of this bounce. So as awful as I think you are, God thinks you're that much more wonderful. We're not kidding you. That's how it works. That's how what you call God has expanded to this place of supreme alignment and well-being. What's mixed you up is that you got off on the wrong foot as humanity about God when you started with a flawed premise that said God's all done, all finished, all perfect, and now God has sent me here to do the same. That premise is so off base, because what was non-physical has sent you, if you want to put it that way, forth, but not to prove worthiness. It's for the sake of expansion. It's for the sake of creation. It's for the sake of the eternal becomingness, you see. So, in simple terms, what man wants to call God is always getting the expansion, whether you all are or not. It really is this simple. So here's source, and here you are as an extension of source, and here you're stirring up trouble and making a better world. Stirring up trouble and making a better world. God just receives the better world, and we use the word God because you are. That which is source energy, that which is the expanded version of you, receives the fullest version and lives in the vibrationally improved version of that which you have carved out. And the only reason you ever feel negative emotion about anything is because you're standing in less than the new improved version of what you've carved out. And that's what we meant earlier when we said you caused expansion, that if you don't take, you don't feel good. It really is that simple. You can't go back. Don't you know that? Don't you know that? Have you ever driven a really well-running, magnificently engineered driving machine? Have you ever been in one and then gone back to something not so well-engineered? You can't go back, can you? Oh, you can put up with it, but you never like it. In other words, you cannot go back. There is no regression. There's no regression. You're constantly moving forward. And while we don't like to use the word God because it means things that we don't mean to so many people who use the word God, as you expand, as life causes you to ask for more, that which man calls God holds that newly found place and calls you home to it. And when you move toward it, you feel good. That's what we call downstream, which you liked. When you move in opposition to it, you feel bad. It's that simple. You got to go with the flow of who you've become. So as humanity, so let's look at your world today. All kinds of unrest and upheaval all around your planet. What do you think the perspective of what man calls God is about that? Do you think there's worry? Of course not. That's out of the vortex. Do you think there's delight at your problems? Of course not. It's that God is not maniacal. It's appreciation for the exploration and expansion and utter expectation that the expansion will be fully realized, and therefore appreciation of what's being lived for the expansion that's being carved out of it. Whew. Wouldn't you just love to stand in that knowing? So you're having a fight with someone, your children, your employees, someone. You're having an argument with them. You're having an argument with them. And from outside the vortex, it all just feels off. But think about how it would feel if you could practice the perspective of your inner being quickly and have your argument and then get into the vortex. You would feel appreciation for the expansion that differing opinion caused you to receive. You would take the expansion and experience the evolution as a result of it, and you would appreciate every moment that got you there. And you speak all kinds of different versions of that, but you often stand in a new and improved place, appreciating whatever happened before that got you there. We're just saying to you that you could get in the vortex on every subject now and reap the benefit of the expansion. You don't have to stand outside the vortex and complain anymore. Not that you're complaining. We know you're reaching for clarification. So did we get there for you?
You did indeed.
So what did we tell you? There is no separation between what is the non-physical you and what is the physical you, except for the thoughts you think that the non-physical you won't think. And what are the thoughts that you think that the non-physical you won't think? You're mad at that one, you're mad at you, you find yourself undeserving, you find them undeserving, poking at the problem. So let's just say it like it is. The vibration of a problem and the vibration of a solution are really different vibrations. The vibration of a question and the vibration of an answer are really different vibrations. You can't set your radio dial on 6:30 a.m. and hear what's being broadcast on 98.7 FM. The frequencies have to match up. But consider this. The whole time that problem is coming into focus. In other words, you're poking at it, you're talking about it, you're calling in other people, you're getting their version of it, you're watching the news, you're talking about it, you're reading the online chat groups. In other words, the whole time this problem is coming into focus, the solution is coming into focus too. And the source within you is over there reveling in the solution that your problem has created. That's expansion. Don't you love that? So the question that source wants to ask of you is, once you've messed around in the problem sufficiently, why not come over where the solution is and revel with us in the expansion that you have provided? That's the big question that an Art of Allowing workshop wants to ask. Why so willing to sacrifice joy for the sake of examining the problem further than the advantage will give you? You follow that? So, think about, have you ever had an experience, many of you have, in fact, all of you have witnessed it in some degree, where things have escalated to the degree that it's coming to blows? Maybe bombs are being dropped, or maybe it's just a fist fight in the parking lot, but it's come to physical action blows. And if you could just push the rewind button a little bit, you realize that if you could have just pulled it back right before it came to blows, that it would have been better, because the blows made a bigger mess than were necessary. So just think in terms of pulling the fists back and not coming to blows. That's a step in the right direction, a step in the downstream direction, a step in the allowing direction. Now think about those arguments you've had. Have you ever had an argument with anybody where while the argument was happening you resolved anything? Or in the argument, didn't you just dig in firmer and know you were righter than you knew before? And didn't they do the same? In other words, did anybody ever, short of somebody just saying, I give up, I can't take this anymore, was there any resolution in the argument? Or did both sides of the argument just get stronger? It's like throwing gasoline on the fire. It just got more and more and more. So we're suggesting, in the same way that you pull your fists back, pull your words back. In other words, which takes a little willpower. Don't say it. Jerry and Esther will have an experience and they'll say to each other, don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say it. Incredibly wonderful, well-meaning waiter the other night gave them a 20-minute description of the menu, when what they really wanted to do is just talk with their friends. And Esther didn't want to be impolite, but she knew. It was like he described all of these incredible foods, and she knew that they were going to say salmon, 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 salmon. She knew that they all knew what they wanted before the man began his rampage of description. And Esther kept thinking to herself, don't say it. Don't say it. And don't bust out laughing either. In other words, just behave yourself here and let it pass. Pulling back the action, pulling back the words that would take it maybe in a direction you don't. And now we are suggesting pull back from the thought. Pull back from the thought. But you can't pull back from a thought. You can't stop thinking the thought. You could restrain yourself. You could restrain yourself maybe. But the concept that we're wanting to give you is once it escalates, pulling back from the fists or pulling back from the words or pulling back from the thoughts, that's hard. That's what makes you say it's work. I'm working to be a better person, you say. And we say you're going about it in a very hard way. If you start in the vortex, if you're in the vortex, if you care about getting into the vortex, then you keep yourself in balance in terms of thought. Then it doesn't escalate to the words, and then it doesn't escalate to the action. Are you getting a sense of what we're talking about? Get into the vortex and then do anything that you have time for. That really is what we're talking about. And we want to emphasize the incredible leverage that you find when you're in the vortex. In other words, we playfully acknowledge that. So you have a bad day and you talk about it with someone and you go to sleep worried about it and you wake up worried about it, because if you go to sleep out of the vortex, you wake up out of the vortex. So you wake up and now you're out of time and you sort of overslept and you didn't get done what you needed to be done, and you're disorganized and you didn't get things ready, but you're in a hurry and you've got to go, and so you don't have time to eat, not really, and what you do eat you spill on yourself. So you go to begin to change your clothes, but there isn't anything there that really looks good with what's there, and you finally choose something on your way out, you catch it on something, and now there's something else wrong with it, and the button came off, and the dry cleaner cleaned this, but they didn't get the button back on, and so but, oh, it doesn't matter. So you get in and you get in your car, and the kids have messed the car up, and it's not like you wanted it to be, and you push the garage door opener and it doesn't open, and so you have to get out and manually raise the car garage door opener, and then you get out and you get into traffic, and now because you're delayed a little bit, you're in the worst traffic, and now the lights aren't working, and something's gone wrong, and a water main is broken, and you went the wrong way, and now you're almost late for work, and you get there and you meet the last person in the whole world that you ever want to rendezvous with, and there they are right there in the parking lot, and you have to make that small talk on the way in, and you get in and you get in your chair and you just feel awful, and you sit down and right away you're already late for a meeting and they're upset with you, and then you go in and we just say, God, kill me now. In other words, a day like that gets off on that wrong foot, it just perpetuates itself more. And if you would take a moment and get into the vortex, if you would bask a little as you go to sleep and bask a little as you wake up and get into the vortex first, none of that could happen, because law of attraction will not let you be clumsy, will not let you be awkward, will not let you choose things. In other words, law of attraction will line you up with the cooperative components that match your outcome that you've been reaching for. Law of attraction is a powerful thing, but you've got to set your frequency, and the sooner you set your frequency, we would recommend that you do it the night before and maintain it in the morning, then the better your day will go for you. There is leverage that you have not begun to tap into that is available to each and every one of you in the vortex. So really, every conversation that we have about anything other than getting into the vortex is a less than dynamic, less than important conversation. Good time for a segment of lunch.